Is that it? Apes with big brains? What a species. We are overwhelmed with problems, from the ineffective ways we medicate our unfaced fears by resorting to mind-numbing distractions, chemicals or stuff, to how to survive in an environment we are fast making uninhabitable. But all these are just symptoms of the real challenge, and that's a cognitive problem. How we process our reality. We are evolved to find and react to immediate threats, and that makes sense for 99.9% of the last 3 million years. But more distant, greater threats, which have often been caused by our short-term solutions, they don't trigger anything like the same demand circuitry felt as emotional impact. And now these future problems have piled up to species-threatening proportions. We have been washed into an evolutionary channel of treacherous currents. Our species will either be smashed to pieces to join the flotsam of other lines that have failed the evolutionary survival test, or navigate our way through to a truly brilliant, brave new world. The real challenge is our conflicted brain or psyche, enormous creative capacity, but for the most part captured by instinctive and emotional programs, subroutines that got us to this point in our evolutionary arc, but which now are liabilities rather than assets. Will we learn how to operate our uniquely equipped brains and see through, truly see through, the illusions that harass our species with instinctual fears and appetites? It goes far deeper than simply educating ourselves about the issues. We will know the issues. It involves a metaphorical rewiring of our minds, so that the way we process ceases to be reactive and becomes creative, not jumping at shadows, but seeing things as they really are. If we make it, it'll surely be at more than the glacial rate of biological evolution, but at the turbo-powered rate that our newly evolving consciousness enables. And that's a sort of Lamarckian evolution, not of genome, but of memome, to coin a word. The passing on of skills acquired during individual lives. Our high consciousness gives us the wherewithal to purposefully shape not only the physical environment which weeds out our species' failures, but also the whole network of thought or mind, which we draw upon to construct the interpreting narratives of our realities. In this new evolution, perhaps only available as species reach this point on the evolutionary arc, occurs not in the material matrix of the genome, but in the rarefied matrix of collective psyches, Teilhard's noosphere, Jung's anima mundi, Indra's net, the memesphere. Names work here as metaphors. From here, consciousness evolves so that we can consciously construct realities, rather than have so-called realities construct us. But to loosen the stranglehold of biological necessity, instinct, that drives us irresistibly to do nature's bidding, setting off mind-inflaming passions and self-destructive habits, we must fully awaken our newly evolved cerebral cortex. Most of the many paths that have attempted this task, from shamanic practices, mystical experiences, religious conversion, psychedelic insights, philosophical and scientific inquiry, seem to have limited success, though many lead back to unconsciousness, often with inflated egos, or abdicating personal responsibility by handing over our best tool, discriminating skeptical awareness, to an authority or teacher. This is where non-deistic meditation seems promising. In its stripped-down, secular version, it is attractive as it is very easy to do and doesn't need a buy-in to supernatural, unprovable revelations. Science's sacred cow of verifiability seems to be strained when it comes to subjective experience, but it isn't where the data is examined objectively, statistically. In science, thanks to the insights of quantum theory, has learned to come to terms with the discovery that subjectivity penetrates so-called objectivity at fundamental levels. With increasing practice and meditation, the muscle of attention is strengthened so that holding attention and stabilizing the mind improves. The dangers of being overtaken by emotional and instinctual currents decrease. But although the basic method is simple, although subtle, it is demanding, like mastery of any skill, from learning a musical instrument to a foreign language, and even more so if we hope to develop the skills to the highest degree. But it's worth it because the potential of this instrument, the brain, is so great. With persistence, the laser strength of the instrument of attention, when turned onto one's embodied life, evaporate illusions that have been taken for reality. They are seen through, not just as an objective concept rationally derived, but experienced subjectively. It's like love. Anyone can understand about falling in love in terms of its emotional and physical aspects. Yet no amount of knowing about it, intellectualizing it, can come close to the actual experience of being in love. Until it is experienced in the first person, it is simply not known. It is the same with the insights that come from sustained meditative work. Those who have done the meditative work know that evolution of consciousness involves the dissolving of boundaries, the illusion of dualities, not only the illusion of separate self-generated ego, but the dissolving of boundaries between mankind and nature, body and mind, individual and society, immanent and transcendent, freedom and necessity, heaven and earth, eternal and temporal, self and other. And as the din of war between these polarities dies down, the sound of the fabric that builds reality can be heard, the sweet sound of loving compassion. As more of us do the work, mankind gains these insights and begins to embody the Bodhisattva principle. The noosphere, the matrix of narratives, is enriched, and as a sort of morphic resonance, these become more easily attained by others. So maybe we are on the threshold of a species-wide spiritual awakening, not some supernatural Aquarian fantasy, but fully grounded in the natural evolutionary arc which will carry us out of our current predicament. This is the way consciousness evolves and we redeem our world.